Let's have a look at question 3 in this video. So we want to compute the optimal consumption of the two consumers. In other words, we want to find out the clothing consumption and food consumption of Anne and Benny. Now, we will use these equations, and we will also use the fact that we have this price ratio. So we found this to use them together. Now, let me just copy this. Let me just copy this and paste it below so we can work with it with more space. So like that, and put it over here. And we also need the price ratios. The price ratio was what? Price of clothing over price of food equals to 1/2. Now, price of clothing, let me write it over here. Price of clothing over price of food is equal to 1/2. If we do a cross product, that means that the price of clothing equals to price of food divided by 2. Now, with this in mind, let's substitute it into these equations, because if we substitute it, we'll have everything in terms of price of food. So we'll have price of food here, price of food below. They will cancel out, so we should leave only numbers in the end. Let's see if that's gonna work out, because intuitively it should. Now, what's that gonna be? The consumption of N in optimal. Remember, this is in optimal after N maximizes her own utility. We're going to have 240 times price of clothing. We're going to substitute price of food divided by 2 plus 240 times the price of food over, and here we have 4 times the price of clothing, so it's going to be 4 times price of food divided by 2. Let's cancel out some stuff. So 240 divided by 2, that's going to be equal to 120, and here we have 4 divided by 2, which is going to be 2. Now, if we work this out, it's going to be 120 price of food plus 240 price of food. That's equal to 360 price of food divided by 2 times the price of food. As we can see, the price of food with price of food cancels out. 360 divided by 2 is equal to 180. So Anne would consume 180 units of clothing. We found one answer. Now let's do the same model for the second one. The same logic, the same method. Over here, the food of N in equilibrium is going to be 200, let me just write 3 times 240 times the price of clothing, which we substitute with the price of food over 2, plus 240 times the price of food, divided by, I can see already a mistake here, this should be price of food, not price of clothing, sorry about that. Divided by 4 times the price of food. Now let's work with some math. Let's cancel out some things. Go to the right to have some more space. So we have here 240 divided by 2. That's equal to 120. And we will have 3 times 120 price of food plus 240 price of food divided by 4 times the price of food. So how can we write this in a better way? That's going to equal to 3/4 times 120 plus 240. That's 360 price of food divided by price of food. Let's cancel out the price of food. So price of food cancels out. And we have 360 times 3/4. 360 divided by 4 is equal to 90. 3 times 90 is equal to 270. So we have 270 units of food that Anne is going to consume in her optimal bundle. So we got that. Now, same method, we replicate it for Benny. So let's do that. We get Benny over here. Consumption of Benny, clothing of Benny is equal to 120 times the price of clothing, which is price of food over 2. So we substitute price of food over 2. Plus 120 times the price of food divided by 2 times the price of clothing, which is 2 times the price of food over 2. Let's work out some math, cancel out some stuff. So we will have 120 divided by 2. This is equal to 60, and 2 by 2 cancels out as well. So 60 price of food plus 120 price of food is equal to 180 price of food divided by price of food. So if we cancel those out, that's equal to 180. In equilibrium is going to be the consumption of clothing of Benny. One last thing, the food of Benny, what's that going to be in equilibrium? Let's go here below, work it out like that. The food of Benny in equilibrium is equal to 120 times the price of clothing, which is price of food divided by 2, price of food divided by 2, plus 120 times price of food divided by the 2 times price of food, 2 times the price of food. And that's equal to, if we cancel out some stuff, what do we get? 120 divided by 2, that's equal to 60. 60 price of food plus 120 price of food is equal to 180 price of food divided by 2 times the price of food. So price of food and price of food cancels out, it cancels out, and 180 divided by 2 is equal to 90. So 90 is going to be the consumption of Benny of food in his optimal bundle, and we found out the consumption of food and clothing for Anne and Benny, and we are done.